What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about today. Over the last 12 to 24 hours, there has been a rapid escalation of events based on the modeling, based on the forecast, based on the satellite, based on everything that is going on, and we have a lot to talk about with what is becoming potential Tropical Cyclone 9 and what will soon be Tropical Storm Helene. I am calling it right now, and I will explain why in just a second. Here's this cliff notes that we have right here. Potential Tropical Cyclone 9. Maximum sustained winds are currently at 30 miles per hour. Pressure's 1,004 millibars. It's moving at 6 miles per hour. But the NHC is just making that as an estimate because they're not 100% sure where the system is going at this current point. As you can see in the discussion, let me go ahead and show you this right here. The initial motion is quite uncertain given the lack of organization, but the best estimate is showing northward at around 5 knots. We'll get to more of the discussion in a second, but here's what we have going on. We have a 90 and 90 probability of formation, and based on what we're finding with Hurricane Hunter aircraft right here, they've most likely found a closed low over here on the west of the convection, and they are finding tropical storm force winds in tropical potential Tropical Cyclone 9, what is soon to be Tropical Storm Helene, in my opinion, right here. Mainly because you're finding this closed low, you're finding these gale force winds, we're finding flight level winds cracking 45 knots, finding SFMR data cracking around 40. That's definitely in the tropical storm category right there, and we are going to have to watch this right here. And they're going to continue to sample this system over the next few days, but this is a very serious situation that we're going to have to keep an eye on, and a very serious situation that we're going to have to continue to monitor. Here's what we have going on in the discussion right here. Let's go ahead and read some of this out. A gradual turn to the northwest is expected in the next day or so. While the system is currently broad and not well organized, the models suggest a more well-defined center should develop during the next day or so. Once the system becomes better organized and develops an inner core, the environmental and oceanic conditions appear favorable for significant strengthening. You do not hear that language from the NHC unless something really bad is about to go on. In fact, the DTOPS statistical guidance shows a 95% chance of a 65 knot, which is 75 miles per hour, by the way, increase in intensity in the next 72 hours. And the hurricane regional models highlight the potential for strengthening to major hurricane intensity. This is just the first discussion that we're showing right here. This isn't like a couple days afterward. This isn't this is right off the bat right here. Just want to make that clear. Thus, the NHC forecast shows significant strengthening, and while the system moves across the eastern Gulf of Mexico with a 95 knot intensity, which is 110 miles per hour in 72 hours, while this forecast is aggressive, it lies near or slightly below the consensus aids, and further adjustments may be necessary. Hurricane hunters are scheduled to investigate. They're doing that right now. Tropical storm warnings and hurricane watches have been issued as well. We have a hurricane watch from Cabo Cache to Tulum, which encompasses Cancun, and the Cuban peninsula of Pinar del Rio, where Hurricane Ida struck. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the graphic, see if we can get the map right here. Yep, there it is right here. We have hurricane watches in effect for parts of the Yucatan and Cuba, as well as tropical storm warnings for the Isle of Youth, Western Cuba, and the Yucatan Peninsula right there, as this is expected to strengthen at least to Category 1 strength as it approaches the Yucatan Strait right here. Let's go ahead and show you the intensity forecast. Expected to get to tropical cyclone status in the next 10 hours. I'd argue it's already there based on Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance. Then you have a rapidly escalating situation, peaks at 110 miles per hour before making landfall, according to the forecast. But I've been seeing so many models of the system just going way higher than that we'll get to those in just a second. But when you see them, the figures that you're going to see are going to be absolutely jaw-dropping. So we're going to go ahead and dive into those a little bit later. But for now, I do want to pull up the satellite imagery and all that stuff. By the way, apologize for the flashing lights, seizure warning for those who are prone to epilepsy for this, but I got to refresh the page so that way we can get a better glimpse of what's going on. Which, by the way, I've been looking at Hurricane John as well out in the Eastern Pacific, because I know there are some people out there that are anticipating that the system could potentially cause some wind shear due to the outflow and drive into the Atlantic and tear the system apart, at least until it gets to the Gulf of Mexico. I'm looking at this right now, and let's go ahead and show you how small the wind field is. It's only about 45 miles from the center. Hurricane force winds only extend out 10 miles from the center. It's an 85 mile per hour hurricane right now, but it's such a small system. And matter of fact, I can show you this right here. The outflow doesn't even go that far. It's not even going out of the coastal areas, the Bay of Campeche over here. And it's looking like it's going to stay relatively isolated in this part right here. It's not even going to Guatemala or anything like that. So it's not intruding into the Caribbean Sea over here. And it's not hampering this tropical development that's going on over here in the Caribbean. Now let's go ahead and show you what the satellite imagery looks up close and personal. Okay, we got another burst of convection starting to go off in that area where all the convection is sustaining. And you have that center of circulation over here. Seizure warning, by the way, for those who are prone to epilepsy. Just want to make that very clear. But holy crap, this is what we have going on right here. We're seeing more bursts of convection close to the center and the southwestern side of the center. That's a closed low right there. And we're seeing convection starting to wrap around it, convection starting to form a little bit around it as well. You're also seeing that huge burst of convection going on once again. That's continuing to sustain itself in the eastern part of the system right here. But this has been a rapidly escalating situation that I've been talking to you guys about, and it's going to continue to be a rapidly escalating situation as we continue to do some analysis and continue to give you more data in regards to this. There's not going to be much in the way stopping this thing. You're going to have warm sea surface temperatures, plenty of warm water, ocean heat content, not much wind shear, and the wind shear that is there is part of a trough that's going to be lifting up and reattaching to the main trough in the southeastern United States. And let's go ahead and dive right into it right now. Here's what we have: the global sea surface temperatures: 30 to 31 degrees Celsius, 86 to 88 degrees Fahrenheit for those living in the United States. And this is going to be very, very conducive for development right here. And this is why this NHC is going aggressive right off the bat and calling for major hurricane development in their discussion right there. They're calling for 110 miles per hour, but I do think they're going to up it in the afternoon update, in my opinion, at this current point. And look at how much this water expands right here. This is where the system is at right now. It's an area of about 30 degrees Celsius. That's going to move into an area of about 31 degrees Celsius of waters right there. And then just move through the Gulf Stream. It's not even going to be exiting the loop current, by the way. It's going right through the Gulf Stream. It's riding it all the way up to Florida, all the way up to the Big Bend region of Florida or the Panhandle, which, by the way, a state of emergency has been declared by the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. 41 counties are currently under a state of emergency because of this tropical system. So if you're in those 41 counties, you need to start preparing. If they tell you to evacuate, evacuate. If they tell you to get out, get out. I don't tell you to evacuate. I'm deferring that to the local officials. They know that better than I do. But regardless of that, you're seeing all this warm water temperatures. The OHC is absolutely bonkers right here. Over 200 OHC, not just in one isolated area either, but in pretty much the entire northwestern Caribbean Sea. There's a huge burst of it that's going to be surging right through. That's going to be moving to 190 to 200 OHC, all the way up to about 27 degrees north where this eddy is over here in the loop current. And then it's going to decrease a little bit before it makes landfall. But that's its area of explosive intensification right there. And this is why we are taking this so seriously, because all the conditions are looking very favorable for tropical development, and this could pose a massive risk to tens of millions of people. Let's go ahead and show you the wind shear right now. Like I said before, yes, there is a little bit of wind shear over here on the northern side of it, but that's due to it being a part of a trough over here in this part of the Atlantic Ocean. It's not because of the outflow from John or anything like that. John is such a small system, it's not going to do anything to this system in the Caribbean Sea. It's too small to really do it. If it was maybe like, if the tropical storm force winds extended maybe 60, 70 miles out, then I'd say, okay, that'd be a bit of a problem for this system if it wanted to develop, and it would be generally more good news. But this is such a small system right here. Like, this is mesoscale at its finest right here. Mesoscale is pretty much anything under 1,000 kilometers, just for those of you who do not know. But this is such a mesoscale event, it's not going to really do anything. And when it makes landfall, it's going to dissipate very quickly as it moves through the mountains of Mexico. So I don't really see it doing that much over there. But you do have this wind shear over here. By the way, newsflash, that's not doing anything to this tropical system right here. And based on this current imagery that we're seeing, yes, there is a lot of convection on the eastern side of it over here, but ultimately that's not going to be the reason for it right here. That wouldn't explain why this is just starting to just developing over here and staying relatively consistent and still blowing up over here. You would generally see this trying to get pushed out further out over there if the wind shear was affecting it. You're not seeing that right there because it's in an area, it's in an area of a very low wind shear pocket. And this wind shear is expected to lift right here. Let's go ahead and show you the shear forecast right here. We're going to use the 12Z GFS for this right here, just to give you the more updated form of this. Yes, you have this trough over here, but that trough is expected to reattach in the next 36 to 48 hours. And then from then on out, as the trough reattaches to this part in the southeastern United States, it's go time for this system. And then we're going to start seeing this system potentially going off as it approaches there. And the wind shear is not going to be doing anything going forward right here as the system moves through the loop current and all that stuff. I'll also show you the moisture component to all this, which, by the way, I do want to show up the moisture right here just to kind of show you this real quickly. Yes, you are seeing some dry air in the Gulf of Mexico, and I do want to zoom in on this a little bit right here. We'll zoom in on this in the western Atlantic right here. I want to show you the water vapor. Yes, I am well aware that there is some dry air going on in the Gulf of Mexico, but if you take a look at the moisture component, the system is expected to come in to the Gulf of Mexico and push all that dry air out in the eastern half of the Gulf of Mexico right there. Dry air is not going to be a problem, let alone the wind shear. How the dry air situation, stuff like that, how that typically works is if there's enough wind shear, it could help get some dry air into the core of the system, intrude into it, and ultimately choke it from the inside. This system's going to be pretty well concentrated and pretty well tightened up and pretty well primed up by the time it enters the Gulf of Mexico anyway. So dry air is not going to do a damn thing to this. And I hate to say it, but it's one of those situations where dry air is not going to do very much to it. And it's really sad to say that because you're seeing a rapidly escalating situation. You're seeing the system continue to go off. You're seeing the system continue to ramp up in intensity, and that's absolutely something you do not want to see. I want to check the Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance very quickly. Yeah, they're going to do another pass into the system right here, so we'll have to pay attention to that and get more information as it continues to unfold. But let's go ahead and show you some model runs that we've been taking a look at. And this is the part I do want to show to you guys, partly because I need to share this with you, but also to kind of emphasize how serious this is. Let's go ahead and start the HMON run real quickly. And I do want to also pull up this the 6C from this morning, because when I first saw these runs last night on David's stream, I was like, okay, this is pretty bad, but let's wait for the rest of the models. Let's see if this is a consistent trend or not, because I'll actually show you the 0Z HMON that we have for you right here, just to kind of show you what we are looking at. 967 already as it moves through the Yucatan Peninsula, gets down to 917, 909 millibars as it's impacting the Tampa Bay region right here, before making landfall in Florida, and then moving through Jacksonville as a pretty powerful system right there, and then moving off the East Coast. When I first saw that, I was like, okay, This is bad, but let's see what the rest of the runs do. And let's go ahead and show you the 12Z model run right here, because it's not that much better, dare I say it. 964 millibar as it crosses the Yucatan Strait, then it continues to rapidly intensify through the loop current, gets down to a 918 millibar system, makes landfall in the Big Bend, which, by the way, let's go ahead and show you the 10-meter height. That's Category 4, Category 5 intensity right there, folks. And that's not just one model run, unfortunately, either. And it's not just one run of this either. Matter of fact, we had around 930 millibars at the 6Z. The 0Z and the 12Z have been what's been eye-popping right here, and that's what I've been really concerned about. Let's go ahead and show you the HWRF as well. HWRF, we're going to go ahead and show you the 0Z, and then the 6Z, and then the 12Z, just to give you the full context to this. Here is the 0Z run that we have pulled up right here. Already a 957 millibar system as it moves through the Yucatan Strait, continues to rapidly escalate, gets down to a 921 millibar system. That's Category 4, Category 5 hurricane, folks, as it makes landfall in the Big Bend, moves through southern Georgia as a powerful system, and then dissipates and goes from there. Here's the 6C run. A similar situation, 959 millibars coming through the Yucatan Strait, bringing a lot of impacts to Cuba over here before entering the Gulf right there, down to around a 926 millibar system, Category 4 hurricane, high-end Category 4, but just on pressure alone, makes landfall. And I haven't even considered talking about the storm surge with this either very quickly. The storm surge is going to be absolutely astronomical if these model runs are true right here and come close to what we're looking at right here. Like, we could see over 15 feet of storm surge if this was to happen in the Big Bend region of Florida right there. I don't want to panic anyone and say that, because nothing's set in stone, and with all these model runs, nothing is set in stone. I want to make that absolutely clear, because I don't want people going to my comment section going, "Oh my goodness, Patrick, this is going to be a Category 5. You got to get out of there now, guys." I don't want anyone doing that, because nothing is set in stone. We have a lot more information to get, but the early initialization, the early data we are getting is not looking the best right here. All the hurricane models that I've been looking at are indicative of at least a Category 4 hurricane. Not saying it's going to happen. There are some limiting factors that could be taken into account. I am, to be honest, hoping to pray. I'm hoping and praying that John gets a little bit larger so it can help weaken the system and help get more shear over the Caribbean Sea. But to be honest with you, I don't think that's going to happen, and that's the sad part to all of this. Let's go ahead and show you the 12Z HWRF as well. Similar situation, 930 millibar system, Category 4 hurricane as it approaches the Big Bend region. Now we got the big stuff. We got the juicy stuff for you. Let's go ahead and show you the Halves A run real quickly. The Halves A 12Z 964. Actually, that's 954 millibars as it's moving through the Yucatan Strait. So the Halves A at the 12Z is already calling for a Category 3 hurricane by the time it moves between the Yucatan and Cuba. That's not concerning at all. And then it continues to escalate. Look at this. 899 millibars, 162 knots. That's 185 miles per hour right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's the 12Z. And if you want to know what the 0Z looked like, the 0Z was around 923, around 926 as a Category 4 or Category 5 hurricane hitting Apalachicola Bay. And the 6Z was 924 millibars, high-end Cat 4. This is 899. I will tell you this, I do personally think that is a bit unrealistic. I really do. A sub 900 millibar system has not happened in the Atlantic since Hurricane Wilma in 2005. But these are such great conditions that we are looking at that this is going to have a very high ceiling. I don't know how high just yet, but I wanted to let you know. Let's go ahead and show you the Halves B as well. Halves B develops this really tight pressure gradient right there as it moves just off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. 888 millibars. Your eyes are not deceiving you. That's what I'm looking at too. 888. I will tell you this. I also think this is unrealistic. at least for right now, until we get more data from the hurricane hunters. But the 0Z run also showed something around 9:09 or something. I think around 9:15 or something like that. So the point I'm trying to make to you is this has all been very consistent, and this is something we need to watch, and we will keep you updated here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.